conditions would start coming back. So they, you know, and I rode that, I call it the roller coaster for the next 8 years. And by 2010, I'd gotten to a point where I could no longer walk down steps. I lost 80% of the use of my right arm. I want to tell you, Lyme disease is one of the toughest things in the world. It got into my spine, and that is the most excruciating pain that I've ever experienced in my life. And I've been hurt quite a few times. And maybe I got hurt by a woman that might have got hurt more. You know, I don't remember. But that stuff was devastating. And then it, all along about 2009, it started getting into my brain. And summer of 2010, my best friend of 40 years walked in the house, and I couldn't remember his name. And I knew I was dying. And a year before, I'd learned about this water. And it was from a doctor in Canada. And he kept telling us, if you ever want to get well, you need to start drinking this stuff. Well, I went to one of his presentations and I listened to him very attentively, but what I saw in my mind's eye at the time was a quack. How can you be labeled? Doesn't this idiot know I've got Lyme disease? Not a label that will fit all diseases, you know, and this is, you know, and I walked out of there skeptical. And then I went online and I Googled it. Well, if you Google this online, you can find more garbage than any place in the world, you know, and there's a lot of good information on it now, but there's a tremendous amount of negative information. And of course, being skeptical myself, I went to the negative information and I believed it. And that was in August of 2009. By September of 2010, I was all but dead. And in October, the gentleman that invited me to that seminar, you know, a year before called me and says, Hunter, and I was a farmer in my younger years, and these guys were farmers too, and he'd gotten into it because of his wife being bedridden with Lyme disease, and he calls me and he says, mind if I come over? And I said, not at all, come on. So he comes over and he's carrying 7 gallons of water. We call them Big Blues. You buy them in Walmart in the sports department. They're 7-gallon water camping containers. And he's carrying this Big Blue in. Put it in the middle of my living room and he said, Hunter, I can't make you drink this. God knows I've tried. But I'm not going to sit back any longer and just watch you fade away without doing something. He said, today I'm going to get in my car with a good conscience. I know I've done all for you I can do, and he got in his car with that and he left. 7 gallons of water sitting in the middle of my floor. And, you know, like the rest of you guys, I still being skeptical, I certainly wouldn't overdo it. But I did make coffee with him. By the way, it makes the best coffee you ever drank in your life. And I maybe drank 3 or 4 glasses a day. But no more than that, I can assure you. And the first week, you know, honestly, I mean, I look back on it now and I can almost say that, like you, that I was hoping it wouldn't make any difference. But the first week I slept for an entire night for the first time in 10 years. And I'm going, maybe there is something to this. So when I ran out, I went back and got another 7-gallon container full. And I continued doing that for the next 30 days. And that quack from Canada came back down. And I went to his presentation and he's sitting there talking and he made a remark. He said, you know, he was talking about acidity in the body and he compared acidity, or not compared, but related acidity in the body to arthritis. And he said, as your body becomes more alkaline, you'll notice things like arthritis start slipping away. And when he said that, I'm sitting there gripping, I'm not gripping, but clenching my fist thinking, when did that pain go away? You know, and that's when that night I became, you know, pretty much of a believer in it. The story gets a little worse than that. In 2009, I'm a realtor, and I've always been at the top of the game in real estate. And by 2009, I couldn't work any longer. By 2010, my home was in foreclosure. And later on that year, my wife told me that she wanted a divorce. And I don't think you could get any lower. And when Mike walked into the house, and I couldn't remember his name, tears welled up in his eyes and tears welled up in my eyes, because I knew then I was dying. But the underlying thought was, it really at this point, what difference does it make? That's where Lyme disease had taken me, you know? And it took me a little bit of time to get a grip on this thing fully, because my mind wasn't operating. But I went on and bought the machine, and I started drinking the water the way I was instructed to. And the guy asked me at that time, he said, "Hunter, do you want to be a representative for the company?" And I went, "You know, I'd like to, but I can't." I said, "There's no way in the world. I can't even do my own business. How am I going to do business for another company?" And you know, he was an old farmer, and these guys aren't too dumb. He said, "How many people do you know that are sick?" And I said, "You know, Pat, at my age, everybody's sick. You know, it's what we're supposed to be, you know." And he said, "Can you share water with people?" And I said, "Yeah, I can start giving people water." And I was giving people water. I couldn't explain to them why or any of the what's about it. So I just get them on the phone with Pat and let him do the explaining. You know, I wasn't going to do it. And these people started buying machines, and the more people that bought machines, the more checks I was starting to receive from the company. And within 4 months, I had earned enough money to pay for the machine I bought, and the machine was right at about $4,000. At the end of that year, my first check came in May. By the end of the year, I got a 1099 for $11,000, and that's not bad for when your brain's not working, you know. The following year, it tripled it, and every year since then it's been going up. Last year, I turned my real estate license in. I'll never put another person in my car again, and I've dedicated my life to helping people understand what this is, number one, but more importantly, what the body needs. And we, you know, I dairy farmed, and nutrition is real important for cows, you know, but I never really took what we did for cows and plugged it into what we need for ourselves. And today I know how important that is. And the reason why, we're 70% water, 72, some of us up to 75% water. We're 80-some% water when we're born. But yet when we die, our bodies are somewhere between 40 and 50% water. You know, people shrivel up, you know, and you go into the hospital, and the first thing they put in your arm is an IV to hydrate you, you know. And that's what they do to just about everybody that goes into the hospital. And there's a reason for that. You know, they talk about medications. You know, your blood gets a little bit thick. So what do? They give you Plavix or something like that, instead of saying, "Hey, how much water are you drinking?" You know, dehydration causes thickness of blood. Dehydration on most parts causes high blood pressure. You know, dehydration enhances acidity in the body. Another thing I learned back when I was farming was that in the spring of the year, every year, we'd go out and dig holes in the ground and take soil samples and send them off to the state lab, and they would come back and tell us what ingredients were necessary if you're going to grow corn or wheat or soybeans or whatever the case may be. But the one basic thing that they always was at the very top of the list was the alkalinity level of the soil. Is the soil acidic? Is it alkaline? What is it, you know? And for most plants, if the soil starts getting into an acidic realm, and I'm talking about a pH that if 7 is neutral, maybe even as low as 6, which you know, in the whole scheme of things, doesn't seem like a lot. You need to put lime on the soil to bring that alkalinity back up. And the reason why, plants cannot assimilate nutrients if the soil is acidic. No matter how much fertilizer you put on them, they just can't do it. Well, what I've learned since then, your body's exactly the same way. If your body becomes acidic, you can no longer assimilate the nutrients. And you go into these health food stores, and we were talking about this a little earlier today, you know, and they're trying to sell you everything that, I mean, runs the complete gambit for nutrition. You know, herbs and vitamins and all this other, everything that you can imagine is in that store. But the one thing you don't hear them talking about ever is water. You don't. And the fact of the matter is, water is the primary vehicle for all nutrition. Without water, you don't, you know, you might as well be taking the vitamins and the nutrients and pitching them in the trash can, because that's just about all of it that they're doing. You know, now, within a year or two, maybe a year and 2 months, 3 months, after I started drinking this stuff, my Lyme disease was gone about 90%, 95%. I still test positive today, but it's such a minute amount that, you know, doctors don't worry about it, I don't worry about it. After that, I wanted to know why something as simple as water could do what the doctors couldn't do for a period of 8 or 9 years. And, you know, in 2010, they had told me that, you know, the doctors told me, says, Hunter, we do not know what else we can do for you. And I see people, I mean, Lyme disease is fatal. People don't realize it, but it's just as fatal as can be because it deteriorates your muscles. Your heart's a muscle. And people with Lyme disease, we die from a heart attack. Unfortunately, we're labeled, we died from a heart attack. You know, they don't connect, the doctors still don't connect the dots, but everybody that I know that's died with Lyme disease has all died from a heart attack. And so anyway, I wanted to understand why. So what I did is I started doing research, and to this day, I still research. I spend time every day trying to learn more about this. You know, trying to learn more about nutrition, trying to learn more about water, trying to learn more about what it takes to make the body function. There's a doctor over in Switzerland named Dr. Thomas Rau, and he's what do you call naturopathic? Holistic type doctor. And he's one of these guys that says, you know, if your doctors have given up on you and you got plenty of money, you come see me. And most of the people that go there end up recovering from whatever it is. And Dr. Rau's foundation and his whole principal belief is, if you can keep your body hydrated and detoxed, all right, and the importance of that is waters that we have today, the molecule clusters, as if you could imagine a cluster of grapes. I'll have a slide or something, maybe I'll show you in a bit, but cluster of grapes, and if you try to push that back down into the top of a milk bottle, it's not going to go. But yet if you break a grape or two off at a time, you can freely put them in there. Every cell in the body has a hole in it called an aquaporin. That aquaporin, every time the heart beats, the heart compresses, pushes out toxin and carbon dioxide, and opens up on the next beat and sucks in oxygen and nutrients. And that goes on every time the heart beats, you know. That little hole can handle about 6 molecules at a time, max. Our water molecules today, whether it's bottled water, tap water, municipal water, really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Average is somewhere between 20 and 28 molecules. So what's happening, that cluster is going up to that cell and it's not getting in. And if you're absorbing 10% of it, you're lucky. And a good example was that I was in the military up until just a few years ago, and we were doing, we were helping out one of the communities in Northern Virginia, and it was a relatively hot day, and I was in my full BDUs and carrying a pack and whatnot. And at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, I started getting a headache. 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I went into the hospital. And the doctor, after they finished examining, he came out, and I was a staff sergeant, comes out and starts reading me the riot act. And he said, you of all people ought to know to keep yourself hydrated. He said, you are so dehydrated right now, you're on the verge of a heat stroke. And I said, Doc, you can't drink more water than I'm drinking. He said, what do you mean? I pointed to one of those 20-ounce deer parks, and I said, I'm drinking one about every half an hour. He goes, are you urinating? I said, at this point, one goes in, one goes out. He said, what color is your urine? I said, it's as clear coming out as it is going in. And he shook his head and he said, I don't know what the problem is. Well, since then, since I started drinking this water, and you've experienced, and I know you've experienced it, and you guys have too, once you start drinking this water, your urine's not clear anymore. You could drink 10 gallons of this stuff in a day, and you're never going to pee clear. And the reason why, it's small enough molecules that that machine breaks that water down into small enough molecule clusters that it can go into your cells. You know? So it hydrates you, and getting back to Dr. Rao, it hydrates you, it also detoxes you because it sucks it in and then pushes toxins out, it sucks it in, pushes toxins out.
So that machine breaks the clusters, the molecules?
It does.
Hydrogen and oxygen? The
No,
water from
no.
is hydrogen to oxygen?
No, it doesn't. It's, doesn't break them that way.
Well, how it breaks it, just to understand?
Okay, the molecules, H2O molecules, right?
Yes.
You got all of these molecules. Now the molecules consist of hydrogen and oxygen, okay? And magnetically, they clump together.
Okay.
The molecules do. What this thing does is I call it disassociates the molecules. In other words, it hits it with a hard enough charge of electricity that it breaks those things apart, you know? And it can break it down to 3, 4 molecules per cluster when you're drinking the 9.5 right there. So that water, you can actually feel that stuff being absorbed through your tongue. If you wait for a few minutes after you drink it, you'll notice your mouth will start feeling parched. You know, it's an unfamiliar feeling for most of us, right? And what it is doing that. He says, Dr. Rao says, if you can keep your body hydrated, detoxed, in an alkaline balance, and do something to neutralize oxidative stress, your body can then take care of itself, no matter what disease it has. All right. Another thing the doctors don't talk to us about at all is oxidative stress. I mean, when's the last time you went to a doctor and he told you, hey, you need to go in here and get on a heavy dose of antioxidants? I have never, ever, ever heard a doctor say that. All right. Oxidative stress, simply, the definition of it, and you can go on to Wikipedia or any one of them. Oxidative stress is when the antioxidant balance in the body becomes out of balance. The more oxidative the body comes, the deeper it goes into oxidative stress. Now, if you go to PubMed.com, which is the archives for NIH, and up in the search bar, put diseases caused by oxidative stress. 8,600 studies come up. Cancer, all forms. Heart disease. Oxidative stress in conjunction with acidity, arthritis, cancer, heart disease, fibromyalgia, lupus, Crohn's disease, every MS, every disease that you can think of. I found this stuff, and then I got a printer to print it out for me. As the body goes into acid, it becomes more and more acidic, and the reason why that is, our blood pH level is a constant. Just as constant as your body temperature, at a pH level of 7.365. all right? If it starts dropping a little bit, your body is automatically triggered, and I don't know what organ or remember what organ does it, I'm not a doctor or a biologist, but your body is triggered to buffer your blood with alkalinity, so it does that. Pancreas. As if we are not replacing the alkalinity that our body uses to buffer our blood shortly, I mean over a long period of time, as we age, our bodies are going to become more and more and more and more acidic. And the more acidic we become, the sicker we become. Now, here's beginning stage of acidity in the body, and I pulled this out of one of the medical charts. I don't remember which one it got it from, but it lists a pretty, basic conditions that we can expect if the body starts becoming acidic. And then the more acidic we become, there's a second stage of acid. Oh, you want to take a picture of that? I can email this to you too.
If you could,
The intermediate stages of acidity, if you look, the conditions start getting a little bit more serious. You see your psoriasis, your colitis is in that category. Asthma's in there. Yeah. Yeah. Stuttering. I never knew stuttering before comes from the body being overly acidic. Cold sores, depression, loss of memory. Migraine headaches.
I thought I couldn't know that.
Yeah. Now, here's the shocker. Advanced stages. Crohn's disease, schizophrenia, learning disabilities, Hodgkin's, multiple sclerosis, tuberculosis, lupus, diabetes, arthritis. I don't even know what that one is. Leukemia and all forms of cancer.
Something to do with skin.
And the list just goes on and on and on and on. Now, I don't usually like using Google anymore. I use PubMed.com, but if you go into Google and Google diseases caused by oxidative stress, there's some real good articles in there. And one article I found started listing diseases, and the last sentence in that article was, more and more diseases are being discovered every day that's caused by oxidative stress. I think between acidity and oxidative stress, you've just about got the whole batch covered. So what I've learned and doing what we're doing here is if we can keep our body well hydrated in an alkaline balance and remove the oxidative stress or the free radicals that are causing all of this damage, our body then has all the tools it needs to take care of itself. And it's not the fact that this water cures anything. It doesn't. It just gives your body what it needs to take care of itself. And over the years, we've lost that. I mean, the food we eat with the GMOs and the chemicals that are put in the plastics that carry the food. And, there's an article.
Plastics in the food.
There's an article, there was a publication put out called the President's Panel of Environmental Cancer Risks. And it talks about all the different chemicals and everything and how they cause cancer and what cancers they cause and everything. But on page 18 of that thing is about 120, 30 pages. And on page 18 it talks about BPA. And it said that NIH, along with another organization, had conducted 138 studies. And from those studies, they have strong reason for concern that BPA causes several different types of cancer, diabetes, obesity, childhood learning disabilities, early childhood puberty, some as early as the age of 7.
Autism?
interferes with,
Autism?
autism is a toxic condition,
Okay.
all right? And I don't know if BPA is one of the toxins that causes it. I'm sure it doesn't help with any, but, and BPA is in every plastic container, you know, water bottles, Coke bottles, all that kind of stuff. All those plastic containers have BPA in it. The lining of our canned foods has BPA in it.
Real plastic line.
Yeah, and it said that 93, went on to talk about this, says 93% of us have biological levels of BPA in our system. You know, and they paint a picture that's just absolutely as bleak can be, and then the very next paragraph it says, however, the FDA has approved it as being safe for baby formula.
Just because the government knows it's bad doesn't mean they're gonna stop it.
Well, what I figure is you got one part of the government, the medicals and the doctors and all that kind of stuff, and then you got the other kind of the
Getting
politicians.
kickbacks.
There's the politicians. FDA is covered by the politicians, not the doctors. You know, so anyway, it's a say it state of affairs.
Now, on that PubMed, can you go in and put a disease in there and see what comes in?
I just pulled it up, you can.
Like cystic fibrosis?
Well, you can pull up the disease, I don't know if you think about it. I just pulled up the bookmarked it, and it's really easy to use, it looks like. Just go to search bar in it.
Yeah.
Search
You
everything.
can set up alerts too, I've done that with
It's
that.
funny we just mentioned
Rick,
the
did you pull
BPA's.
cable?
Yeah, plug the cable in better. I unplugged it a little bit, because your pictures start showing up, and everybody starts looking at your pictures instead of listening to you.
Yeah, I don't want pictures to come up, I got a couple
You
of
know
them
that
there.
plastic
Couple of them in there of me.
water
naked.
bottle I have that I keep pouring the water and drinking out of?
Yeah.
We threw it away
Who's
yesterday.
fishing?
May I ask
We
you
were
a
just
question,
talking
sir?
about this yesterday at my house, my sister-in-law, and Maya bought this glass bottle, has this glass that sits over the top.
Oh, okay.
And that's how I'm drinking my water now.
Good.
All right.
So we
let's
just
go
got
over
rid of the
here.
plastic bottles.
All right, here's the PubMed site. It's PubMed.com, PubMed.org, both of them get you there. What are you doing?
It's not coming up on here anymore.
Why?
Oh, it was.
Change the port.
Did you plug that into the same? Plug it back in.
No signal. Well, there you
There you
go.
go. All right, PubMed.com, and then you go up here. In, in my trunk, there's a bag, tool bag. And in one of the little pockets around that tool bag. Huh? Okay. Yeah.
So basically, what he was explaining, the activity, right? The activity that causes all those problems. It's cured by this water because the molecules enter the cells and the cells can clean themselves. That's the only thing it does, right?
Well, it doesn't cure it.
Doesn't cure it,
Alright.
it's just.
They can't say that it cures it.
It doesn't cure it, but yeah, it
Takes the
helps.
symptoms away. Yeah.
It allows your
always
body,
have
yeah,
it, you're always-
it allows your body to flush out the toxins that are in your body. That's the
That's
easiest
all.
way to say it. Yeah.
That's what it does. So it allows the water to go into the cells.
Okay, you ready for this, guys? Watch this. Diseases caused by oxidative
You
stress.
spelled diseases wrong,
Not here.
but that's okay.
8,650 studies pop up. 8,650, and I'm not gonna go down, what happened? I'm not gonna take our time to go down the list and pull them all up. But,
You know, right through about that.
I think we got a connection problem. But,
It's your, this thing, just no. Alright, go ahead now.
okay, and,
Don't touch the hood.
But, I mean, 8,000 of them, page after page, I don't know how many pages. If it's 20 on a page, you got a lot of pages there. Now, if we take out oxidative stress and put in acidity,
Spell diseases right. Spell diseases wrong.
huh?
You spelled diseases
Oh,
wrong.
it works.
Necessities caused by acidity.
Okay, diseases caused by acidity, 10,000, look at here, 10,964 studies come up. Now, if you go down the list and you start looking at these things, you'll see where there's a lot of diseases that are covered in both of those categories. So, it makes sense to me then, if you want to keep disease free, keep your body from becoming acidic and keep your body from becoming too oxidative. Now, oxidation is everywhere. I mean, absolutely everywhere. It comes in the air we're breathing. Oxidation is in a lot of the food we're eating. You're going to see oxidation levels in these drinks that are going to surprise you. Everything we're doing, everything we do, exercise is oxidative. It's also acidic, by the way, but it is oxidative. And everything we do builds up that oxidation. Unless we are taking in an adequate amount of antioxidants, our body has no way of doing anything other than becoming severely oxidative. And if you cut an apple open and spit it out in the air for a while, you know you're going to look at it, it's going to turn brown. That's oxidation. If you leave it out there for a little bit longer, it's going to, the oxidation is going to go in, it'll get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and do more damage to that apple, and you'll be able to see it visually. It does the same thing to us on the inside. On the outside, you get things like wrinkles. You know, your skin loses its elasticity. All right? That's oxidation. We become older quicker. That's oxidation. Actually, if you go back into PubMed, you can go down through there and you'll find that aging is a disease. You know, and it's classified as a disease. And the reason why, it is brutal. The reason why is because our DNA, according to a lot of specialists now, our DNA has us pegged to live 120 years. But we're not. In the United States today, cancer is the #1 killer still. Heart disease is #2. Number three killer is medical mistakes and diseases that we acquire when we're in hospitals. Is the #3 killer.